Chile is today one of South America's most economically and socially stable and prosperous nations, with a high-income economy and high living standards. It leads Latin American nations in rankings of human development, competitiveness, income per capita, globalization, state of peace, economic freedom, and low perception of corruption. It also ranks high regionally in sustainability of the state and democratic development. Chile is the only South American member of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, joining in 2010. Chile is a founding member of the United Nations, UNASUR, and the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC. Welcome back to one of our shows, with all this information and the amazing guests as the President Sebastián Piñera, the Minister of Foreign Affairs Roberta Ampuero, and the representative of the Pacific Alliance Gustavo Ayala. We are going to be talking about the foreign policy and its current issues. First of all, we're going to be talking with the Minister of Foreign Affairs to understand a little bit more about the foreign policy. Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Okay, due to Chile being progressive, it means having a welfare state. Legalistic, it means having non-corrupt institutions or trying to. And liberal, with an open market economy. What is the most important principle of the foreign policy?
Well, due to our identities you just mentioned, we consider cooperation one of the most important affairs of Chile's foreign policy. Including in cooperation, we focus on South-South cooperation with other emerging markets, but within that we mostly focus on regional cooperation.
As the Foreign Minister just stated, Chile's foreign policy can definitely be categorized as a respite symbol.
Minister, how is your vision about the regional cooperation for this new presidential period?
Well, we try to maintain our straight foreign policy line determined by our nation's identity and state characteristics, rather than a changing policy from election period to election period. Due to this, we try to strengthen our intimate relationship with Colombia and Ecuador within the CAN regional alliance. This relation is not only based on economic and social integration to enable a more efficient knowledge and goods transfer to facilitate the further development of our region. As a regional power, economically, we are convinced to contribute to a leverage of economic power of the region, which can also lead to greater global focus in Latin America.
It is a mandate for the head of state to maintain the policies of the foreign policy.
In that order of ideas, President, what are the main principles of Chile's foreign policy?
So the main principles are the full respect for the international relations, as well as respect for the inviolability of its territory, and also the political independence of the diplomatic relations, as well as the instruments of the international law, for the respect of the sea and airspace and the Chilean Antarctic region, and also the full protection of the sovereignty.
Further principles include democracy and the full respect of human rights in the world, and the international cooperation between states and state actors with international bodies to focus the future global challenges arising.
Yes, it is said that the foreign policy is straight, but are there any changes with these new current politicians?
Nowadays, with me as the head of state, the focus is more on the Pacific Alliance as well as the political role in the region, including Brazil and Argentina.
As you mentioned regional cooperation, how do you define the relation with Peru and Bolivia?
Peruvian and Chilean relations have dated back through many years, dating back to the time of the Incas, where they celebrated a rich trading relations as well as good diplomatic relations. Also, during the Peruvian War of Independence, Chile provided troops as well as resources and aid during the armed conflicts with Spain. Troubles began to arise with the territorial dispute with Bolivia over the Atacama border. After the war in the Pacific, relations between the two countries have been getting tense, even getting too close to the brink of war in the 1970s because of a difference of ideas and can be explained by a constructivist point of view. But in summary, the relationships with Peru and Chile has been slowly getting better, even including some economic alliances And on the other hand, with Bolivia and Chile never having really good diplomatic relations, it can be considered tense in the best of cases.
As your representative, you move yourself in the world of regional cooperation. But what are the objectives in terms of global cooperation?
Globally, Chile is proud to announce that we are a member of the OECD, otherwise known as the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And we are the first Latin American country to join. This will allow us to increase our economic power and also give us the possibilities to increase our economic cooperation with other nations and enhance Chile's image abroad.
Is there any other cooperation Chile considers to be important and improve within the next few years?
Considering our strength and our wealth, economically speaking, we, apart from the OECD agreement that I already talked about, we must also improve, enhance, and deepen our bilateral agreement with China, who is currently our major trade partner outside of our Latin American countries. If we seek to maintain our exponential growth of around 5% annually economically over the past 2 decades, we must continue our relationship with China, strengthen it, and also seek other cooperation with countries that are outside of our region.
Thank you very much for being here. To conclude, we hope this has been an interesting space to understand a little bit more about Chile's foreign policy, cooperation, and regional integration. See you next week to interact with other guests and to talk about other countries. Bye!